Hey there, welcome back to another video of this or that. And in today's video, we are going to talk about a very popular topic. Now, I know a lot of fragrances actually do buy both of these, and today's video is basically targeted at folks who are new to fragrances, who have been into fragrance journey for some time, or you're an avid collector, right? Now, this video will cater to all three of you to talk about what are the pros of getting a full bottle and what are the pros of getting a decant versus cons of each one of them as well, so that you kind of understand which is the right one for you and when you should consider getting a decant versus when you should consider getting a full bottle as well. And at the very end, I'll also talk to you about telling you if decants are actually legal or not as well. That's something that we will try and cover as well, because a lot of you would definitely understand what is decants, what is decanting, all of that, but there are a lot of cons that happen with decants as well. So wherever you get your decants from, you need to kind of understand that these are some things that can go wrong with your decants and you might not get a very good experience as such. So I'm going to cover all of these elements in today's video, and if this is the type of video that is going to add value to your fragrance journey, then definitely hit the notification icon and the subscribe icon to let you know of the new videos that are coming in, and do comment and let me know what are your thoughts about the videos that I make. You're watching the Perfume Experience. My name is Rodney, and in today's video we are going to talk about, are full bottles worthy of getting at a blind buy, or should you consider getting decants that are like this, or decants that look like this, or you should consider getting samples like this as well. So I'm going to talk to you about telling you how are they different and what are their advantages and disadvantages. Now, first of all, what is a decanting process? First, let's just quickly talk about that. So you do get a full ml bottle, 100 ml bottle like this. It's a full bottle that you've made a purchase, and you want to transfer the juice that's in this, okay, to a bottle that looks like this, okay, to anything that is smaller in general, right? So how is this process done? So very quickly, what happens is you can just pull out the atomizer, okay, so this will come out generally, and you're left with this. Right now, you can attach any syringe, typically a 10 ml syringe, anything that this way, and pull it out like this, and you will start noticing, because of the pressure of the air pressure, you can actually pull out the juice from this to a syringe and then transfer it across to another device. Or you can basically use a pump that you get in Amazon, and you can kind of use that to transfer as well, right? So that's typically how a decanting is done, right? Now, decants are generally available in 2 mls, you get them in 5 mls, you get them in 8, 10, 30, 15, depending on whatever is the options that are out there. You can definitely get them in any format, right? Now, let's talk about some of the pros of getting a decant, right? Now, where does decant fit in? Okay, now decant like this, which is a 10 ml decant. Now, in this case, you are able to see that there is a sticker of the a fragrance that you're decanting. This is, in this case, it's a Rare Reef, all of that, right? So this is a 10 ml decant that you can easily get. So advantage of a decant is that it allows you, the most important element is that it allows you to try a fragrance without buying the entire bottle. Okay, why? Because fragrances are subjective. I have described the fragrance for you, I have reviewed the fragrance for you, but the way you might smell the fragrance would be completely different. The performance of the fragrance could be completely different on you. So for all of those reasons, blind buying a 100 ml or a full bottle sometimes might not make a lot of sense. So for you, buying a decant would be a good option, so that you can save up on that money, okay, of buying a full bottle. Also, you get to understand if the scent profile is for you, and should you actually consider going for a full bottle at a later point of time. That's the first advantage. The second advantage is that if you're somebody who keeps frequently traveling, okay, then decants are a great way of carrying a lot of fragrances for you, because let's say you're going out for 15 days time, you can easily carry 15 decants. They will not be heavy. They will easily sit into a smaller package, maybe one of your toiletries kit, or a specific box that can be created for that, or a carry case of some kind, and you can carry a variety of fragrances with you easily to one place or other without actually having to carry a lot of weight. Okay, so that's another thing, the travel part. The third advantage that you kind of get is that within a smaller budget, you can actually build a larger collection. Okay, so for example, let's say that a decant costs like say 300 to 400 rupees. Okay, now if you keep a budget of 4,000 rupees, you might easily be able to get about 10 decants, at least 10 to 12 decants comfortably, so that you can actually have a 12 fragrance collection with 10 mls at least in each of them, right? So that way what happens, you suddenly built a fragrance collection of 12 fragrances, and because 10 ml vials like these, they carry about 100 sprays roughly, because 1 ml is basically about 10 sprays. So if they carry about 100 sprays, so you can actually comfortably try all of these fragrances, build a lot of collection with yourself for having a nice collection of fragrances with a decent amount of volume as well. So 10 of 10 will give you 100 ml. So you have 100 ml of juice, and you can try them every day, different ones, so that you can experience different fragrances and you can actually understand what is it that works for you. Is this the right type of scent profile? Do you get the right type of performance in those conditions? And then you can base your decision to buy full bottles or whatever, right? So one is, of course, the cost factor. The second is the travel factor. The third, of course, just being allowing you to build a nice collection. And the fourth point that you might also get because of decants is that you don't need a lot of space. Okay, you might just have a small drawer and you can comfortably place all your decants in that. So even from a storage point of view, you do not actually do a lot of clutter. You actually can have a very organized, nice set of decants, right? Now, also the other element that comes really handy is, especially when you're buying designer and niche fragrances, which are very expensive. Imagine you're buying a fragrance which is 10 to 20,000 rupees in range, and you do not really want to do a blind buy as such, because you would want to really think about whether this fragrance is worth that money or not, right? So in that case, definitely decants do come very handy. Now, what are the cons of some type of decants? Okay, now think about it, right? So these are like the official samples that you get in most designer brands, and you kind of get a vial like this. This is mostly seen in a lot of designer brands, niche brands. Now, what happens with this is that you do not get a proper atomizer here. Okay, the atomizer here is very, very small. So this throw output is very less. You can use this as a reference point to understand the scent profile of a perfume, but you cannot judge the performance because you do not get a full spray. So you might have to empty out. If it's a 1.5 ml vial, you might have to end up spraying most of it to get a feeling of using probably a regular routine of fragrance. That's one of the first cons that you will see on on the spray part, especially on the performance side, with a smaller atomizer like this, or even the smaller atomizers like this. Okay, so these do not really give out the exact same amount of juice quantity compared to what you get in a typical regular fragrance. Now, on the other hand, the bottle that we've recently introduced, these are atomized, pressurized atomizer, and these actually give out about 130 mcql of juice, which is almost as close to as what the original fragrance bottles come with. Most likely, some of them have about 200 mcql, but this will at least do 130, so that you will get a much better performance, idea in terms of the throw and what happens. That is one major con that is there with the decants because of the atomizer. The second is the cost to volume ratio, right? That's the part where decants cost a lot. A decant like this will cost you about 450 rupees roughly. Okay, whereas a full bottle of it might cost you about 3,000 rupees roughly. Okay, so you will notice that if you were to buy, let's say 10 decants, you will notice that the price is 450 into 10, which is about 4,500 rupees, which is 50% more. Why does this happen? So generally, the thumb rule in most decanting community is that it is a 2x cost of the bottle that they are purchased for. But because today decanting is done by a lot of folks, nobody sells it at 2x, but it hovers around 1 to 1.5x for various reasons. Okay, now this is also to understand the different types of decanters that are there, and I'll talk to you about it in a minute. But primarily, the cost of price per volume is higher in a decanting situation, because there is a labor involved in decanting. One. Second is there is a cost involved in the getting the bottle. There is also cost involved in packaging. All of that cost adds up, and that is why the cost of the decants are a little high. Okay, so that is one thing. The third element that you might also want to consider is the authenticity of the decanter. Okay, now this is crazy, because I am actually doing this video based on this, because I've seen on Reddit that there have been issues where people have got decants which have been diluted, okay, with some alcohol or something like that, and the decants have got a different smell versus the person who's got the original bottle. Okay, so diluted decants, one is a big issue. Second is some people, now this will come to this part of, types of decanters, right? Now there are essentially two types of decanters in my opinion. One is the casual decanter, who is somebody like who you've got a few fragrances and you're not actually utilizing them so much, so you would want to kind of sell off some element or some part of the juice that you have, so that can help you fund to buy a new bottle. Now what you will typically do is, if you've got a fragrance at 3,000 rupees, you will break it down to the exact same cost. Now what happens in this case is, you will decant as per you've got an order, right? So if you've got an order from an ex customer for an ex perfume, so you will decant only that much of volume, and you will sell it, right? So that way there the decanting cost is less. Now there's a flaw also with this. Now every time if you keep decanting, some juices get oxidized as well, and because of which the quality of the juice changes, the performance of the juice changes. And in some cases, if the decanter does not shake the bottle, does not shake the original bottle before actually decanting, there's a possibility that you might also lose the top notes of the decants as well. Okay, now these are actual issues that have happened. One is adulteration or dilution. Second is, because you're decanting based on order, there is a possibility that the fragrance evaporates. Now, I'll tell you about a situation where there was somebody whom I know who decanted Turati 7 decants, but the 20 ml from the bottle got evaporated completely. So it's a loss for the person who decanted as well. It's happened with me as well. We've decanted Nautica Voyage. I had a partial of 30 or 40 ml of Nautica Voyage, and one fine day I see and it's completely evaporated as well. So those are some things that could go wrong with decanting process as such, right? But mostly, yes, if you do not shake the bottle every time you decant, then there's a possibility of losing the top notes. Now, that is the casual type of a decanter who does it. The other side of decanters are basically people like somebody like, let's say, for in our case, Najdia Intense, right? So the moment we get the bottle, what we do is we decant 8 units of it. Okay, that is 8 into 10, 10 mls, and 20 ml I'd keep it as a partial for my review or anything as such. Now in this case, what happens, the decants are done right at one go and they're packed and they're ready to ship, right? So because of which what happens is, the quality of the decants is slightly better in the sense to say they macerate well. Okay, they would have aged well also, because not a lot of the decants immediately sell off right off the shelf, so they tend to be there for a longer time and then eventually sell off. So you get a well macerated decant as well, which you can kind of utilize. And I don't know how true this is, but people say decants have a better performance than a full bottle generally, right? So that's another that's an advantage, but at the same time it could be a con as well, right? So it depends on how you kind of see it, right? So these are certain things, advantages and disadvantages of buying a decant. Okay, now the advantages of full bottle is, of course, the first most thing is that you experience a complete opening the package, the out of the box package experience, opening the pulling the bubble wrap out, tearing away the film of the plastic box, and then of course experiencing the fragrance in all its glory with the full bottle, the box presentation, all of it. And that's the most elegant part of a fragrance journey. So that is something that's very appealing when you get a full bottle. Second is, you to get better value for money per ml, right? Because the price of the 100 ml generally is much lesser than the decanting ratio of pricing. So that way you do definitely get a much better option. Second, as a collector, you tend to build a beautiful collection of fragrance that you have of full bottles, and you can completely use them as you feel like without really having to worry. People literally shower in a 200 ml bottle, because a 200 ml bottle is very difficult to exhaust, right? So like for example, if you looked at this, the diamond collection or the iris bottle, this is a 200 ml bottle and it's a fantastic looking bottle as well. So flanker like this to kind of exhaust takes a really long time, right? So you can literally shower with the type of sprays that you do. You can have a fantastic spray routine as such. The cons. The biggest con is you blind buy fragrances generally, and they generally end up sitting with you. You do not find platforms to sell off your fragrances. You do not find use for those fragrances. Eventually the hobby kind of starts eating you up, and you get into a very crazy situation with your fragrance collection. Now think about if you have 20 fragrances with you, which is an intermediate fragate kind of a situation. For you to exhaust 20 fragrances of 100 ml each, you will take 2 to 3 years time. Okay, easily 2 to 3 years time. They just gather like the case that you see behind, and it kind of becomes difficult for you to liquidate these fragrances. Might also lead to a situation where eventually you will find them they are expired or things of that nature, but generally that doesn't happen for many number of years, so that's a good thing. You can tend to use it, but yes, there is a risk of that element as well. That's one of the cons, but they are excellent for gifting, right? If you want to gift somebody a fragrance as such, they are perfect for gifting a full bottle because they really add value. They bring about a memory, so that way all of those things hold good, right? Now, what are some of the things that we do at Perfume Experience with regards to decants? One is that, like I said, the moment we get the fragrance, we decant 8 units of them. We keep them separate, so they're well macerated. Pricing, I think, is still decent. Mostly, you will find a lot of the platforms doing a 2x price of decants. We generally are not there, but we are trying to keep our costs as low as possible. Same day shipping and all of that. So we generally do these bottles now. So we used to do these kind of bottles before. So we've kind of moved to these kind of bottles now. So these are the 10 mls that we do, and these are with pressurized atomizers. Okay, so let me just show that to you. Okay, so you see that it kind of presses, goes ahead nicely. So you get a very uniform distribution of sprays as such, and those are some points that we're trying to add and to make sure that you get quality decants, trusted decants at reasonable prices, right? So this was the idea of the video, to basically talk about the decants versus full bottle. Now I told you that there is a very important element, which is to understand whether decants are legal or not. Okay, now the answer is no. Okay, decants are actually not legal if you're selling designer fragrances, because like brands like Christian Dior or any of these brands can actually have copyright issues. They can actually sue you as well if you are selling their fragrances in decanting bottles and with their names and so forth, right? So pretty much like how you can't post a fragrance today, or a post of a fragrance today on Facebook, it gets taken down. Similarly, like that, a brand can take down your post for or your fragrances, or they can sue you for selling designer or niche fragrances as such. But with Middle Eastern fragrances, that problem isn't there, so we are good that way to manage with selling off with Middle Eastern fragrance decants as such, right? So yes, on the whole, if you think about what's good for you, this is definitely, the full bottles are definitely for somebody who wants to build a collection, who wants to get value for the money that you pay in terms of the ml versus volume. Decants are definitely for somebody who wants to start small, who wants to build a collection, who wants to spend less but have a nice set of collection for the same type of or the amount of money that you spend for getting a full bottle. I hope this video was helpful and insightful, and if that's something that you think, then definitely drop your comments and let me know what you think about this, and I'll see you on another video. Until another time, take care. Bye bye.